it is nice to put yourself in a situation, either through choice or just through the limitations of what the shoot demands, where you're not going to have access to everything. And being able to work like this in El Salvador and Honduras was kind of freeing, because I knew that I would just deal with the camera, Rithika would deal with the lighting, and between us we would just be able to get what we needed, and it would just have to work. So you kind of problem solve on the fly, you work out what's going to look good, and try not to overextend yourself. So try not to light a massive scene with 2 LED panels, because you're never going to get there. Try to make sure that you're capturing the stuff that you need, because ultimately it's got to fit into what the client wants and the vibe that the client wants, as well as being beautiful and cinematic. So there's always a balance to be struck there. And you find that at certain times of day, it's midday, it's horrible overhead light, what can you do? How can you achieve the shots that you need to? And sometimes that means a little bit of a compromise on the aesthetic that we would, as cinematographers, love to bring to something, in favor of, well, we just have to capture this shot and make it as nice as we can, knowing that we can't do anything else to influence it, and just let that go. Know that you can move through this one quickly and then get on the road, get to the next place in time to get a lovely sunset. So you kind of stack your priorities when you're doing that, because otherwise you just go crazy with all the options and permutations that you could try and get working. Just limit yourself, look at 3 things, and then move on to the next shot. Just an aside on this one, with Blackmagic RAW, we had 2 256GB CFast cards in the URSA at all times, and then another 2 SD cards of 256GB. So we had basically a terabyte of storage within the camera. We were aiming for 4.6K RAW on everything, with the exception of when we went to slow-mo 120 frames. Obviously it crops into the sensor to do that, and that goes to 1080 or 2K. We always knew in the back of our heads that shooting Blackmagic RAW might mean that at some point on the shoot we ran out of card space when we were on location. But we took the view that even if that happened, we've always got the SD cards in there. And since then, we have completely moved over all of our high-end projects to Blackmagic RAW at 4.6K, because it just makes sense. And being able to edit in DaVinci, grade in DaVinci, and then deliver from DaVinci as well cuts out an element of the workflow where before we were using DNG, we had to do a proxy workflow to effectively get through it all without it stalling the computer and just being really slow. So now it's at a stage where we can do that on these shoots, and in fact it's our preference.